How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at the first episode of the final season of Tales from the Darkside. And I guess before I get into it, I should address really quick, I'm sorry there was such a big gap between my reviews for season 3 and now. After doing 3 seasons worth of reviews, I decided I needed to take a little bit of a break. I have no idea how it turned into over a year though. Time just kinda got away from me, and I'm glad to finally return to this show. There shouldn't be any big breaks covering this final season, so let's go ahead and finish up this series. All that being said, back to the review. This is Tales from the Darkside, Season 4, Episode 1, and this one's entitled Beetles. It originally aired September 27th, 1987, and was directed by series regular Frank De Palma. The episode stars Robert McCary and Sirri Murad, and this episode is actually based on a short story by Robert Bloch, who you probably know as the author of Psycho, and he also adapted the teleplay for this episode, so he wrote the TV version as well. Sadly though, it didn't pan out to be the best thing ever. It's not a bad episode, but I feel like they started off the season with a very safe episode. A guy's just gotten back home after stealing some ancient Egyptian artifacts, and he's warned of a curse. We as Anthology horror fans probably know this is an episode about a jerk who's going to get his comeuppance, and it's pretty formulaic and predictable. Now that being said, we do have block writing, and the guy who's playing the jerky character gives the part a fair bit of charisma, and there's lines where he has to kind of say what he's doing when he's alone, and they never feel too much like narration, so I can give that a bit of a pro. But the big thing with this episode is you think it's going to be an Egyptian mummy episode. The mummy is there, but don't expect it to move. They say in this episode the gimmick is that the mummy is dead, but the curse lives on. And I guess, okay, that's a different take on it, and I can appreciate wanting to do something different, but what's the curse? Well, if we look at the episode title, it's Beetles. And yeah, I don't know, it didn't pan out to be super scary. When you tease something that's a beloved horror creature like the mummy, and then you don't give us that and you give us something else, you have to make sure what we're getting is as cool or if not cooler than the mummy. And just a bunch of beetles, it's not super scary. I mean, I appreciate they used real bugs, but I mean, I don't know, beetles just aren't really scary to me. Yeah, I'm not super invested. So yeah, it winds up being a pretty formulaic jerk gets his comeuppance story, and instead of doing the mummy, we do something not as scary. It's not the strongest start to this season. If you guys don't like bugs though, you might get some enjoyment out of it, and it's not a terrible episode by any means, but it's definitely a safe B-side, and I wish they started off on something stronger. But anyway, in order to analyze this episode further, let's talk a little bit about the plot. I won't go anywhere near the ending, and I'll try not to spoil anything too big, but from here on out, I do want to break down and analyze a few things, so let's take a deeper dive. We open up with these two, comically British movers who, call everybody governor and stuff like that. I'm suspecting they're not really British, but you know what? We had to get some people who could do a bit of an accent. Well, they're moving in a bunch of crates for this archaeologist guy, and they casually say that one of them has a coffin in it. The guy freaks out a little bit, and the mover said he simply assumed because of its size and shape, but the archaeologist quickly kicks the movers out, and he begins to unbox what turns out not only to be a coffin, but a sarcophagus. He's quickly interrupted by a knocking at the door, and it turns out to be an old Egyptian man who says, "I know who you are. You're an amateur archaeologist, but you're also a thief. That mummy you've stolen is a temple virgin who broke her vows and was cursed, and you really shouldn't mess with it. And one thing I do like is that our jerk character says, no, 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 you're just saying that because you know she was buried with jewels, and you just want the jewels. I love that he doesn't just not listen to the warning, but he comes up with a reasonable explanation. But again, we as Anthology horror fans know that just kicking this guy out is definitely the wrong move. He unwraps the mummy, and we do get a pretty cool reveal when we see her face. She's got what appears to be glowing red eyes, but it turns out these are actually rubies, the jewels he was looking for, and he quite quickly pockets them excitedly. Well, after that, the curse begins. The old man had previously explained that she had a scarab on her sarcophagus, and that she was cursed by a beetle deity, and now he's going to be haunted by beetles. And again, I wish it was scarier. I know beetles are an important part of Egyptian mythology, but just having the beetles there wasn't really enough to scare me. In The Mummy, which I know was a movie with way more of a budget, they would eventually pull this off, but yeah, not really much we could do here. And on top of that, the scares are pretty repetitive. He sees a beetle, he freaks out, and then the beetle's gone. I mean, yeah, it gets a little old. There is one scare where he's shaving his face with a straight razor, and then he looks in the mirror and sees a bunch of little beetles in the shaving cream, and it felt a little campy, you know, him with the beetles in his beard, and I'm like, you had a scene with a straight razor. That really could have been so much more tense, you know? Have a mid-shave when he freaks out and accidentally cut himself a little bit. You could have done a bit more. Well, the episode does heat up a little bit. The guy comes back for a second warning and he figures something else out about the mummy. And I won't say what it is, but this episode has a fairly decent ending to it. Overall though, it's not that it was a terrible episode. It was just predictable and not super scary. Again though, if you are scared of bugs, maybe. But I wish we just got a regular mummy episode. I love mummies and the mummy here looked really cool. It's just a shame this was actually about beetles instead. Oh well. I know there'll be better episodes in the future, and I can't wait to really dig into this season. I'll try to cover it fairly fast, and again, I'm really looking forward to it. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Tales from the Darkside playlist, and you should be able to see my reviews for every episode in the first 3 seasons, and hopefully more will get added to that pretty soon. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again really, really soon. Playlist here. Have a good day now.